Adelaide, I'm at your town for the next 2 nights with my raunchiest, wildest show yet. Come get red-pilled about the Middle Ages. Yeah, it is raunchy. I don't know how it is. Also, if you're a Wollongong, I'm there as well.
I watched all of the Australian Office in one sitting. We thought that it was going to come out week by week. Nah, just dumped it on me. Thank you very much, Amazon. That would have been hard enough in bite-sized pieces, but I had to swallow the whole bloody thing like it was a snake. And let me tell you, what a rotten mouse. That was terrible from beginning to end. So, I don't have a positive thing to say about that show. That was a minstrel act of The Office that I was watching from beginning to end. It was absolutely terrible. I don't know what the hell anyone was thinking. From director down, it was all trash. All of it. Anyway, did you get your YouTube prescribed bit of rage? Let's actually talk about The Office after that, because it wasn't that bad. I'm not saying it was good, but come on, look at the Guardian's review by this man. Fuck me. Just I hate him so much. I think just because I hate him. No, come look at him. Look at him. You can't. That man can't get away with looking like that. You can't. I think I like The Office a little bit more purely because that man gave it 1 star. It's like, no, fuck you. I think that's it. Like, I'm sorry. It's just like, the Guardian has evolved into a biological organism. Ugh. But anyway, look, I don't think it was 1 star. I'm gonna just cut to the chase and go straight to it. 2 stars. 2 stars. I'll tell you why. First off, they had an impossible task for many reasons. Let's just go through why The Office was successful for a second. It is because that was the purgatory, getting close to the first layer of hell existence of Gen X. I think that was what that entire generation did. They were pretty much hamsters in a maze, except for they never got to go through the maze for the cheese. They just blocked off every little part and then just gave the hamster a bunch of meaningless reports. That seemed to be their entire lot in life. The reason that The Office was so successful is exactly the same reason that Dilbert was successful, is because that was the existence of anyone that wasn't a construction worker, you know? Look at when it was made, 2001. There is a reason so many died in 9/11. It's because everyone had a fucking office job. I'm telling you now, that probably actually would have been a controlled demolition during COVID. Everyone would have been at home. That was the whole problem. And if you go back and you watch the original Office, like I did after this, just to get it as a palate cleanser, I suppose, you realize it's not really a comedy in the modern sense. It's a comedy in the Shakespearean sense, in that, like, it's not a tragedy. Get it? Like, it was just really, it must have just been cathartic for sad 40-year-olds that were into Coldplay at the time, you know? Like, it was, oh my God. Okay, I get that that is the art form. The art form is every scene is supposed to be either cringy or depressing. I mean, mission accomplished. I didn't laugh once. I was just scared shitless the whole time, being like, oh, thank fuck I wasn't born in 1979. I'd much rather be a millennial and have no job prospects. Seriously though, I like whatever this period is, where most of us kind of get by on this cobbled together thing of government grants and just occasional odd jobs here and there. Imagine that existence. Imagine having the boss that Ricky Gervais was, you know? Holy fuck. Like, having to be in that room full of a bunch of people that hate each other all day, every day, just shuffling around meaningless bits of paper. It's much better our meaningless existence where we have time to think about the fact that we have meaningless existences. They were just gerbils. I'm sorry, Gen X was an entire generation of gerbils. I feel sorry for them. What I'm saying is, like, we're free-range gerbils. They just let us out because I guess, like, the power that be elite hands got bored of owning a pet like it's a 7-year-old. You know what I mean? Like, that was the collective existence that everyone could relate to, and they kind of needed The Office so that they all realized, oh, okay, there is a world outside this cubicle and it is just more cubicles, and in that way we're linked. I think that that's what The Office was selling. It's exactly the same feeling that you got from Office Space, for instance. But not everyone has these jobs anymore. Some people do. They tried to address that in the Australian Office by saying, oh, everybody's coming back to work from working at home, which is the first acknowledgement in the first scene that the world has moved on. You know? It's not a collective experience anymore. It's an experience of a slither of society. The problem with bringing back that sort of existence, though, is that the whole thing is based off of, like, you can relate to this reality. Like, if they brought back Alf, that'd be fucking sick. I reckon that would be a sick, like, we've already got the Australian Alf. It was that cheapies thing. We can do that. You can't just be like, oh, this is for the everyman. But the everyman doesn't do that anymore. Here it is anyway, 20 years late. No. Like, that's all I kept watching the whole time that I was sitting there. I was like, this really should have come out at the exact point that the American Office did and have like an Australian bend to it at that point. That was the first problem with the show. I was watching it the whole time and I was thinking, yeah, look, I'm not laughing at it. I'm not terribly offended at it, but who wants this? It really was just an imaginary office world of what hipsters in Melbourne think offices look like. I stand by that. I was definitely right on that. When you go back and you watch the British office, those people have worked in offices at some point in their life. They get it. They know. Like every little thing of like, you know, somebody making annoying sounds next to them in the table over and them just kind of just in their own little personal hell, sort of it just coming louder and louder in their ears. They've all had that experience so they can act off it. Most of these people have had the exact opposite experience of working in an office space, maybe walking into an office to beg for a grant. That's their experience with offices, and it shows. And so, you know, they obviously tried to do the like, oh, we're making it all diverse for the new century kind of, well, not the new century, later on in the new century. It wasn't the right kind of diverse. This is the same thing that they always do, where they're just like, it's that same box ticking exercise of like, ooh, the office boss is now a woman. Can you handle that? Yeah, but can you make like a real shit woman boss? Like, all they tried to do was kind of make like a Ricky Gervais woman, that's not a boss. There's not this sort of like man-childy, I think that I'm much better at everything than I actually am character of that, you know? Like, that version of a woman is kind of like a Coughley Crow, but like, I chose this life and I'm happy with it. Like, you need one of them. And that was not her. She was just like, I'm Ricky Gervais, but I've got frizzy hair, much like this critic over here. Is that the one star that he gave? Otherwise, it'd be like, if it wasn't for the hair, 0 stars. So there was like that problem. There was also the thing of like, okay, this is a Western Sydney office space. And again, they're just trying to make it like diverse, but they're making it diverse in the way that the Australian screen industry likes diversity being shown, when reality is, if that was a Western Sydney office, what would it be filled with? Vietnamese and Lebs. That should have just been the entire cast, you know? And then on top of that, it actually would have been funny because Lebs are just naturally funny, just being like, bruh. And then you could have all of the actual Sydney-based gags that happen in those office spaces of like, bro, do you want a cheap phone? My cousin can get you one. You know, like there would have been entire stories based off of that, as opposed to just rehashing things that don't really happen in offices. Again, this was amazing. It was really just watching people that have never had an adult job, imagining what an adult job would have looked like. It's like if I wrote the fucking Office, I have no business doing this. My suggestions are probably wrong. You know, like, bro, do you have a phone? You know what that's based off of? That's based off of my friend saying that, but this is the whole thing. At least I'm like getting it off some research of someone that has at some point sat down in one of those desks and just been like, holy f***, I'm one of these people. So anyway, that was another huge problem with it. Just the whole like, oh, it's a woman now. Triggered? It's like, no one's triggered, for fuck's sake. No, yes, I'm triggered, but not triggered for the fucking reasons that you think it's triggering. It's triggering because it's just like, we know what you're fucking doing. You're just box ticking. That is the whole reason. And then they build an ideology around it of like, no, we wanted it to be like this. No, the only reason that you made it like that is to please, ironically, those women that are in control of those little boxes in the only offices that exist anymore, which is government arts grants offices. I suppose the big takeaway is that you can argue that the American office isn't as realistic and depressing as the UK's office, and nothing is. Like, everything that the UK does is depressing. I mean, just look at it. It's a, no offense to our editor, it's fucked. You know, it just is. It's a very depressing place to live.
Oh, he's not wrong, it's dog shit.
And so we go over to America, and obviously they're just gonna Hollywood everything, and we get into a bunch of misadventures, and we love everyone. Yeah, it's an 80s sitcom still. Cheers has left the bar and gone to work. That was the feeling of The Office for the American one. But still, what it had was truth in the characters. They might have been doing a bunch of zany, outlandish scenarios. Ooh, I drove my Range Rover into a pond because the GPS told me to. Technology, am I right? Ooh, I'm having sex with one of the office staffers' moms. Well, that's not that outlandish. I'm sure that's happened in western suburbs all the time. But anyway, the point is that there was truth in the characters. There is no truth in any of these characters. It was really strange to watch it. It was almost as if it was one of those anime puppety things getting dragged along on Twitch. So it was interesting in that regard. I'll give it that. And that's why it gets 2 stars. It did bring it into the modern world. After watching 8 episodes, I thought I'd do my duty and see what everyone else is saying about it. I could only find Guardian articles. And look, I only looked at the first 3 things that popped up on Google. One was That Man, and I've got to give That Man 1 star. So I'm moving on to what was, and this is very interesting, an interview with the creators and some of the actors before The Office went to air. It is illuminating. You know what it made me realize? What would have been a much better show is if they made a mockumentary about them making an Australian Office. That would have been fucking hilarious. And it reads like it too. Listen to this. These are actual interviews. Don't they sound like the sides that the Office characters say when they're just like, yeah, so I'm in charge of Christmas decorations this year. Yeah, I'm happy about it, yeah. Oh, no, the goose is running through the office. This is a direct quote from one of the actors. It sounds like one of the asides. Look, when I first heard there was going to be an Australian reboot, I was like, great. Why? The sentiment was shared by actor Raj Labaid, who plays an intern called Sebastian. I thought it was a pretty terrible idea, to be honest. That's the best thing they can say. Moves on to say, but you know, within the first couple of weeks of shooting, I was going, oh, actually, this might be really good. It wasn't, but look, I can understand you're probably sitting there, you're hanging out, you're having some fun. But that does answer one of the questions that I had when I was sitting there the whole time and I was thinking, did anyone laugh at all in the entire 8 weeks of this being filmed? And yeah, it turns out they did, so I'm glad they had fun. Look at this quote. I know Amazon were terrified at the time of pitching. We were all terrified. Why did you do it? No one thought this was a good... Literally no one on earth thought this was a good idea. What the fuck goes on in these people's heads? It just must have been the whole time like, oh yeah, but it's like a brand that exists. We can just leech off of that, right? Like that's the only thing... It really feels like it. Like, we're getting some insights here. Look, I was going to cut these people some slack, but then I heard this quote and I was like, oh, it's just too Melbourne. Listen, but also, that's what comedy's about. It's about finding the sweet spot where you can push the boundaries. With a sitcom that's 20 years too late. Take that, 2005. Be scared. Yeah, well, you were fucking terrified. I'll give you that. But also create something that's new. What? Think of the delusion that these people have to live in to create this show. I mean, look, I get it. It's hard to get funding in Australia. Good on them for getting that bag. I'm really happy that Australia got something. I'm glad about that. It is just a bit of a shame, though. Because you could have probably made The Office into something that is exactly what they're describing. And I don't know how it ended up the way that it did, which is, in summary... really non-offensive, berry-flavored porridge. You know, you eat it, you're like, yeah, berries, yeah. Uncle Toby's berry porridge. That's what that show is. What do you reckon? Check it out today. Anyway, if you want some more Friendly Geordies cringe-alongs, let me know if you've got any ideas in the comments. That's me signing out. Come see my live show. It's in Adelaide and then Wollongong next at some period. And yeah, I think that the big takeaway from all of this is, I think that VTubers are the hand puppets of the 21st century. That's right, I said it. You can't prove me wrong. How else are they moving?